timeline. All will not be said and done actually until December of 2021 when we get the final outcome of our SAC-COC reaffirmation review process. So I, again, thank you for your collaboration up to this point. I thank you in advance for your continued collaboration. And we will continue to move forward with our assessment processes as we have been. I say that because soon you have a deadline coming up. We know October is your favorite month out of the year. And as we started last year with the audit reports with regards to the status of the various assessment reports, you all have been getting those updates with regards to the monthly audits. And after the October 15th deadline, just like we did previously, all of your units will get an audit report in terms of where you're all at with the completion of your assessment reports. And we will proceed as we did previously with that memo of vulnerabilities. So we will be asking if you do have outstanding assessment reports that were not completed or submitted by the deadline, then you will be asked to develop an action plan so that we can ensure that we close any of those gaps. So that really concludes my updates. If anybody has any specific questions, I am happy to answer them. I will hang on the call for a little bit. I will have to jump off to attend another meeting, but Laura Creel will stay on the line and she will be able to answer questions as well as they pertain to SAC-COC.
Okay, if anyone wants to ask Jenna questions before she leaves, you can go right ahead. You can do it in the chat, or you can ask her, you know, by just speaking up. Anyway, if there are no questions, I'm going to proceed to the assessment update. Can you go to the next slide, Susie? Mm-hmm. So basically, all of the assessment plans and reports that were reported before so starting in 2014 and ending in 2018, we're reviewing all, 2019, we're reviewing all the plans. We have already sent out most of the assessment, well, all of the assessment reports that were in the sample, and you're already getting some assessment reports being sent out now as we review them. So please be cognizant that we are tracking deadlines for those. And we are sending out those audits as Jenna mentioned. So October 15th is the big date. We need the assessment results for 1920 for all academic programs and dean's offices. Don't forget the centers and institutes. We are also still collecting assessment data for them. And then we have the UCC courses, and those we also need the assessment reports for them. Now, we've reached out to the colleges that have UCC courses and notified them if they were compliant with the new University Core Curriculum Committee Oversight Committee's requirement of having the minimum of 3 outcomes. A lot of the reports have already come in, so we're getting those done. Those plans will be in effect for the 2021 cycle, and therefore assessment should begin then, and we're going to just worry about making sure that all of those courses have met that requirement this year. Otherwise, if they have not met the requirement so far, we will be making notes on the assessment reports that we're already reviewing, and we are having interactions with faculty that way. So we're asking for feedback, asking them to comment on our comments in their reports, and that's how we're reaching out to faculty as well. Also, as many of you know, the UCC course assessment cycle has shifted to match the academic programs assessment cycle. So now we're collecting data for all courses at least once every year. And that's only for the assessment results. the use of results will be using the 2 years of data that match the same cycle as the academic programs. And then after those 2 years of data are collected, improvement actions are developed. Does anyone have any questions with these deadlines and with the new requirements?
I just need a reminder. I know you explained this way back when, but I just wanted to make sure, Kathy, when we speak about the institutes and centers, you mean the institutes and centers that are within the FIU, like the big administrative centers and things like that, not the centers, like research centers within academic units or colleges?
It's also within the colleges as well, Vuka. So all the centers and institutes that were assessed previously through the BOG are still being assessed now through our office. It's just that the BOG requirement shifted a little bit. They don't require the assessment that they used to have. Now it's a much more abbreviated process. However, those centers within the colleges that were reported under the BOG still are collecting assessment data because we still need them for SACs.
Okay, so we were not assessed under that in the past.
You should have access, Vuka, if you have any, and I'm checking right now. You should have access in TRACTA since you're the liaison for the college. You should have access to those centers in TRACTA, but I'll check.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Kathy, I would like to ask you whether you would benefit from a special outreach to all those programs undergoing program review. As you know, we have an extensive list.
Right.
So
Yes.
This is something that we can follow up later. Also will include Laura Herring. But I do want to make sure that we get off, on a good footing, because without the reports, really the entire process quickly goes into a disarray. So please let us know. We can continue offline. But if you do need a special, let's call it chat up to make sure everybody's on track, because those reports are due October 29th, I believe, the South studies.
You've reminded me of an important point. Those programs that are undergoing program review are under a different deadline than the October 15th. Aileen, the deadline September was.
Their deadline was September 27th, and they were all a lot of them are finished, and the majority that are still missing are from the College of Business, but I know Andrea was entering the data, we have to go and look into the College of Business to see which ones are done and are ready to be sent out. But their deadline was September 27th, and we did email them several times, notifying them of this change of this deadline.
Okay.
So they were aware of this.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're working on them. We're only missing a couple of programs because they do their own assessment, and they don't do the assessment. Like, we usually have an exit exam for most programs. So, but there are a couple programs, like finance, for example, the MS in finance that they do their own. So I'm waiting for them to give me the data from their own assessment. They use a rubric for theirs. But other than that, most of the majority of our programs are inputted.
You finished? Okay, perfect. That was in my to-do list to check for this week.
Yeah, so we have the majority of them are all there. I'm just missing a couple of the ones, like I said, that are pending their own, that do their own separate with a rubric.
Okay, just to be clear, again, sorry to interrupt. This is only for those who are under review, the class of 2021.
Yes.
Okay, right. So my college, the Temple College, was under review in class 1920. So that doesn't apply to us. Thank you.
So the 19, so I just want to make sure in case there's any confusion. So the 1920 data are due for everyone.
True.
For everyone that except for the program review cohort of 2021, that due date is October 15th. The program review cohort of 2021 had an earlier deadline of September 27th, but everyone needs to submit their 1920 data.
Okay.
Was that clear?
Okay, so just to clarify, John, yes, the deadlines are all for the, October 15th, even for certificate programs, the SLOs and POs for those. Next slide, Susie.
Yep. Oh, I'm clicking it over.
Okay, so the assessment report audits are already being sent. So you should have received some already. As October 15th becomes more, as it becomes closer, we'll be sending out more of those as reminders and also as ways for you to easily have a generated report without having to go into our system. However, we will have that website, which is linked in the email you have, that will allow you to see a daily updated view, so that if you see the email maybe a few days down the line, then you can go in that same day and be able to see the most updated version of the database, and it'll allow you to see if anyone has completed anything that, you know, if you want to look up a particular program that you were checking up on, you can easily see it in that quantitative database. So the qualitative piece of it is making sure that it appropriately goes through the review process. And Aileen's going to talk a bit more about that later on, but essentially, after we see that the reports are at 100% completion, including 1920, the 2019-20 academic year, I mean, then that means that we'll go in and update our reporting system, make it ready for review, and then one of our reviewers will pick it up and be able to review it and send it to the faculty member, and also the liaison is also CC'd on that, so that way we only have to review the reports once instead of twice for past data and for the current 1920 data. We're trying to get this done by December, so that if there are requirements for us to submit additional evidence beyond the sample, that we would be able to have those reports cleaned up by that time and have it ready for the reviewers to look at in the cleanest way possible. That's why we're really trying to abide by the deadlines that we give faculty. We give faculty a 2-week deadline to be able to review our feedback and submit any revisions. And then we work with them until it's done. So we basically every time that they submit it back to us, we give them an extension to that deadline so that they will be able to meet the requirements if they require more revisions. As far as the qualitative dashboard, it's going to be available on our website. So if you go to the regular trackdat.fiu.edu site, there's a whole bunch of reports that Susie will introduce you to that will allow you to see these reports live. Next, Susie.
Yep.
Okay. So we have a bunch of projects that we are working on now. We are tracking the rubric scores that we give to all the reports that we review, and we're going to be using it for improvement strategies. Danilo will show you that we're going to be able to have a dashboard for you so that you can see those map scores live as well. We are trying to ensure that we have on-time submissions. So we're tracking the on-time submissions and the resubmissions and making sure that we have that ready for the possibility of having this added as a duty in the PEP review or in the faculty review process. the Canvas Mastery Gradebook, some people have been expressing an interest in aligning the Canvas shells and the assignments that they set, that they assign students to be assessed by, by them to, as part of the assessment for their SLOs. They want to link those competencies to specific assignments, and Canvas Mastery Gradebook allows us to do that. It allows us to link outcomes to rubrics and then to be able to generate data based on that. This data will help us understand student mastery of competency to a deeper level than ever before, since it'll be tied to student data. Danilo, who is our data expert in-house, is going to be able to generate very custom, very specific reports on student populations and whether or not they meet or not meet the competencies and the expectations set forth by the faculty member. So that is something we're piloting this fall, and we hope to provide more information about that later on, probably by the end of this year. We'll have some more information about how that pilot study is going. And now I'm going to bring it to Aileen, who's going to talk more about our review process and the quality assurance process that we have within the office.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Susie, next slide. So the priorities for the review process, how we were initially doing it before we submitted our SACS-CLC reaffirmation report, is we were prioritizing those reports that were part of the sample, because we have around 1,200 reports, and we're not giving SACS from the get-go all of the reports. We gave them a sample, so we showcased a sample of reports, and that was the priority, and we communicated a lot with faculty to make sure that those reports were finalized and fixed as best as possible. Since that's done, what we are prioritizing right now is we're prioritizing one, the program review cohort, like Mercedes was saying, and their deadline was September 27th, and that's what we're working on right now. Some of them are already finalized. After the program review cohort, we are prioritizing the reports that were not in the sample that already have submitted 1920, because what we read from the sample was up to 1819, meaning that when we look back at the reports that were in the sample, we're only going to have to read 1920. But those that were not in the sample, we still have to read from 1415 or 1516 all the way to 1920. So what we're doing is Susie's generating audits every week, and we are looking at those reports that were not in the sample first, that already submitted the 1920 data, so that we can read those first, after we've already addressed all of the program review ones, that have 1920 that are ready to be reviewed. Once we finish with those, we go on to the ones that were in the sample and only read the 1920 results. So those go by faster. Now, we're not doing them each batch at once, because the 1920 data are coming in at different times for different reports, but that's the order of priority that we're setting for reviewing. The review status, you'll be able to see it, and Susie will show you on the qualitative review dashboard. But before you even go to the qualitative review dashboard, always use the quantitative one first, and Danilo will show you that one, because we will not read your reports unless 1920 data are entered. We simply don't have the manpower to be going back and forth when data are still missing. So first we focus on, are the required fields for 1920 entered, and then we categorize them according to program review, sample, or not in the sample, and then we go by order of priority. Any questions on that? No? Okay. So a lot of you are familiar with our qualitative review process. So once the quantitative dashboard shows 100%, all the required fields are completed, we put them into our queue to read and to redline the reports. And you guys are very familiar with this, our redlined reports. And we send it with a guide, and you guys already know the guide that we send with all of our color coding. But we really, really, really need for you to address every single comment that's in red, whether it be addressed in Tracta, whether it be addressed on the form or on a Word document. I've gotten all sorts of different ways of addressing it, but my main concern with this is that you address every single point, because that limits the amount of times that we have to go back and forth communicating with you to finalize a report. And what we do is we give you feedback on your outcomes, on your methods, on the results, anything that's not clear, anything that you can improve upon on your reports. And then there's also the orange changes that we make, which are edits that we make on our end to make it clear, or just like some of the outcome start dates and end dates is just so that it can work with our logistics in the back end for the dashboards. But you are more than welcome to provide feedback on any of the orange changes that you see. If there's something that you have a question about, please by all means do let us know. But when you get these redline reports, please go point by point, because it makes the process a lot easier on both of our ends. And when we do your redline reports, you guys know that we have the map, which is the rubric that you've been receiving at the end of the reports. And the map basically is our way of tracking the quality of the assessment reports, because we also have to show how we're improving as an institution, the quality of our assessment processes. And the map is broken down into the 4 columns of your assessment report, so your outcomes, your methods, your results, and your improvement actions. And it's very specific as to what are the components of a good outcome, what are the components of providing good results, of providing good improvement actions. And we score you on that. Sometimes we highlight where it is that you're missing stuff. And other times, if it's not highlighted, the comments are reflective of the score that you receive. The one thing that I did want to touch upon the map, and I'd be happy to meet with any of you or any of the faculty individually to go over it and see how reports can improve. But these 5 areas that you see on your screen are the areas that I see that we as an institution need the most improvement on. So we're very good at creating outcomes. We have the methods, we have our data, we put it in there, but we're not really analyzing the data. We're not writing what trends are, what trends we're seeing. Sometimes some faculty do write it, but instead of writing it as it is an analysis, but they put it in the use of results for improvement. And an analysis is not an improvement strategy, it's just an analysis. So that's one of the things that I wanted. Yes, it will be, Marilis, we are recording it, yes. One of the things that we want to start seeing a little bit more is that faculty report the results, and that they're also making that connection between the previous year, the previous couple of years, anything that they did that maybe caused that shift, that increase in scores or that decrease in score. So we want to see a little bit of the thought processes behind what the faculty think about the results. Another one is communication with stakeholders. We are aspiring to get the NILOA Excellence in Assessment designation. Hopefully next year we'll be ready to provide, to submit our paperwork for that. And one of the things that they ask for is that we share our assessment data, how our students are doing with different stakeholders, including students, the rest of the faculty. So basically not assessing in isolation, but making sure that the faculty, everyone in the department is aware of how students are doing, that everyone in the department knows what outcomes a student graduating with X degree should master, even if they're teaching a foundational course. And that's something that we need to be a little bit more transparent about, and we can work on putting it into the assessment reports, how this sharing of information is happening, so that we can not only hopefully get the assessment, the excellence in assessment designation, but also be more transparent with our students. If you post it on the website, when you graduate with a degree in X, Y, and Z, this is what you're going to learn. And we have that for our undergraduate programs, but it's in our website. It's not necessarily in everyone's website, and students don't necessarily go to assessment.fiu.edu. The other areas that we can definitely improve upon are our improvement actions, our use of results, making sure that we are providing concrete strategies on what it is that you're going to improve upon that are directly linked to the outcome. So it's not a strategy for the entire, for all of the outcomes. Sometimes it can be, but you got to make sure that whatever improvement strategy faculty are writing, that it can directly impact that outcome that they are assessing. And then, of course, if you have a concrete strategy, and you implement it, you should be able to follow up on it and provide evidence of implementation. So these are the areas that, moving forward, we really want to focus on improving within our assessment reports and within our assessment processes overall. Questions? Okay, Susie, next.
I have to click it twice every time.
We have our assessment certificate. I think most of you, but Barbara is new. So Barbara, you haven't taken it. And I'm going to add you to our waiting list. We have an assessment certificate that we developed. Most of you, like I said, have taken it. We've improved it as we've gotten feedback, and as we've done it, 3 times already, I think. And basically, we talk about all of the different areas of assessment, of developing assessment for your program or for your certificate if you have one. We go over curriculum mapping, we go over outcome development, we go over how to analyze the data, how to develop improvement actions, how to implement it, data collection methods. So everything about assessment, we touch upon it there, and we also welcome feedback on any other topics related to assessments that you'd like to see, and we can facilitate that. It's like a 12-16 week process. It's online. You do it via Canvas, and then we also have some face-to-face, hands-on components to it as well. Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're waiting to see if funding is approved for it. Okay, Lillian, perfect, thank you. We're waiting to see if funding is approved for it because this is a provost strategic initiative, but we've gotten great results from it, and I don't see why it wouldn't be approved. So if you want to be added to the wait list in case we do get approved, please let us know.
Yeah, we're definitely hoping in this year of economic hardship to be able to get another cohort going, but we do need to have the interest there. So we did send out a survey to see, to garner faculty interest. So that can serve as our evidence for why we need to have the assessment certificate. So if you haven't distributed that to your faculty, or if you haven't been able to fill it out yourselves, please do complete it. It's important for us to be able to generate that data. Thank you, John. Okay, so now it's the data analysis piece, which is by our data expert, the Director of Data Analytics and Assessment, Danilo.
Hi, thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Danilo Lasante. I am the Director of Assessment Analytics. I work within the Office of Institutional Effectiveness. I also work closely with the Division of Academic and Student Affairs and fulfilling other data needs. So in terms of data support, if you ever have any questions, you want to take a more granular look at the analytics within your courses or within your programs, I hope I can serve as a resource. And so this, over the past year, this is sort of a new layer that we've added to the office. And so what I hope to do today is not only share some potential tools that you can use to help track your assessment progress, but also maybe provide some insights and show you how you can leverage some of your assessment data. I think historically, throughout this process, a lot of departments and liaisons are accustomed to entering their data and then not seeing much of the return or where to go next. And so what we hope that the analytics component contributes is provide a more informed approach in developing your improvement strategies or establishing which competencies or which goals do you want to set for you and your programs. So I just need a moment here to share my screen.
Do you want to go over your slides, or do you want to?
I guess I was going to go through them concurrently, but I can actually, let me just, everyone can refer to the slides, at another point, and I can go through a demo of how the dashboards work.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing so you can share.
Thanks.
And I'll email the slides to everybody right now too.
Fantastic. Okay, so hopefully you can see this is our assessment hub. So when you access trackdat.fiu.edu, you'll be taken to this page. And so for the analytics component, the area of interest will be under this section, the data dashboards. And so we'll begin by going to the program and course metrics dashboard section. And so we've added a couple new dashboards here. In the past, you may have access the standard PO dashboard to get a sense of your program metrics as it relates to the institutional metrics, right? So retention, graduation, excess credit hours, time to degree and whatnot. And so we added a couple of additional dashboards. First, I'm going to go over the competency achievement and strategic alignment dashboard, which we've branded as the CASA Dashboard. And so when you navigate to this dashboard, I had it pre-populated here. You'll see that, sorry, it's refreshing. But essentially the CASA dashboard is going to reflect the different student learning and program outcomes that are tied to the various competencies within each of your objectives. And so the goal, let me try refreshing this. The goal is to really provide a global and a granular view of the institutional attainment program outcomes within a given time frame. So you'll be able to look at the competencies that are attributed to each of your outcomes over each reporting year. I'm sorry, it's taking a moment to load, but once it's loaded, you'll see that we have different tabs for the for not only the core courses and other academic areas, but also for administrative areas. Today, we'll be focusing on the academic portion. So I have some examples here. So this is what it looks like. You'll have each of your different filters. So you can look at this data by reporting year. You can look at it by a specific course that maybe you oversee. If there's a particular area within the UCC that you're interested in, you can also filter by that. We also have UCC designations, the 3 unique competency categories in this case, and then also the sub-competencies that are associated with those. And so if you look through here, you'll see that we have each of the UCC areas represented along with their competencies and sub-competencies across each reporting year. And so you can look at the trends over time. But for example, within the humanities area, you can look at how critical thinking has, I guess, the number of outcomes or objectives that have had critical thinking competencies linked to them. And so by using the tooltips, you can float over the visualization and get a little bit more of a description of what the humanities area category entails, and then also more specifics as it relates to the reporting period the category and the outcome status, whether or not the competency for that year was met. And this is aggregating it across all courses currently, or all UCC courses. But if you wanted to drill down, you could, for instance, select one course, or you can select a number of courses. So for instance, if we wanted to look at maybe all the ENC 1102 reports, we would select those, and then we would see all the different competencies that have been measured or tracked within this course, as well as the sub-competencies and each year that it was tracked. So we see that in 2018, ENC 1102 had three outcomes that were tied to communication, specifically written communication, and in which case all the competencies were met or satisfied based on the criteria that was set. And then we can look at it through other outcomes as well. And then also it populates the title here. If you wanted to download a report or to get a printout, for instance, if you wanted to share it at a meeting or distribute a PDF through email, you would go up to download. You would select PDF. You could select this view, and then it will actually download a PDF for you to view that you can disseminate with colleagues or with people within your department. Anyone who should know about this, or as if it it could be used for meeting or planning sessions to discuss which competencies will be addressed within your program or your courses.
And I wanted to add, Danilo, that
Sure.
I'm going to use this as one of the tools. All these dashboards really are going to be used as tools to serve as conversations with faculty. So now when we meet with faculty, we don't only want to say, okay, look at your report and focus on your report, but we'll say, okay, look, these are the trends that have happened in the past few years, and these are the things that the students have shown with the student data that you've collected across multiple years, across these competencies, across these improvement actions. And this is valuable for the UCC courses, for the academic programs and certificates, and for all the assessment reports that we collect, because all of them are being tracked. And if you look along the top, you'll see that each of them are represented there. You just need to select the right tab.
Correct, yeah. And so I'll navigate through a couple of these so you can get an idea. But if you go, you can also look at these same metrics by program and certificate. So once again, you can look at it through reporting year, or you can look at, specify whether you want to look at only certificates or programs, or all of them. And again, you can search based on your assessment report. And then you can also even filter by the competency category. So if you want to just completely disregard what area or specific unit you want to get, maybe a global view of the competency, you can select, in this case, we'll do communication. And then this aggregates all of the different objectives that have communication as a competency. And we can see, for instance, here, if we look at oral communication, since 2014, we've seen some gradual increase in the criterion status, meaning that each year, the criterion has been met it started with 90%, then 94%, 96%, and it's gradually increased little by little. So you can start to notice some trends at least as you look at this. And it could be the same for, you could say the same for written communication as well. And so these are some ways that you can at least look at the trends over time in terms of how have these competencies been met, these different areas or these different components that we're measuring, how have we been progressing on these? And if we haven't been progressing, then how can we maybe improve that so we can be better at meeting the criteria? And then if we're already meeting our criteria, or it looks like we're trending in that direction at least, should there be other competencies or sub-competencies that we should be thinking about to include as part of our objectives moving forward? And then also I would like to share the program and certificates tab. And so again, we're looking at the different we're looking at the different strategic priorities in this case. You can also filter across any of the programs. This is specific to the program outcomes. And then you could also filter by strategic priorities if you want to select, in this case, learner success or preeminence in research and innovation. You may do that. You can also filter by goals. So if we are interested in looking at how graduation has been met, at least across each of these different strategic priorities, we can even select those to look at how it's trended over time. And so we see that graduation as a goal, it's been linked to learner success in this case. And then every other year, which is when these outcomes are assessed, we see that there has been at least an increase, because these are based on the number of outcomes that may have graduation as a goal, not necessarily the percentage of outcomes that were met, but at least we see an increasing number of objectives with graduation as a goal, and then also see, what proportion of those goals have been met. And so in this case, if we look recently, 2018, 2019, we see that when strategic priorities are assigned to learner success and we have a goal of graduation, at least 75% of those goals were met across all of the programs, particularly because we didn't filter for a specific program in this case.
Danilo, Mercedes needs to go earlier, so I'm sorry to do this in the middle of your presentation.
Sure.
Mercedes, would you like to present about program review?
But yes, I would very much.
This would be a good segue, actually. So,
Susie, will you be putting up the list of programs coming under review?
I need Danilo to stop sharing.
Stop sharing.
Or maybe I can share.
Sure.
Danilo, thank you very much. It's really impressive, the dashboard and improvements that have been incorporated last
So
year.
we're going to fast forward to program review. I don't have the, you want me to pull up the schedule?
Yes, if you can, the roster.
Okay.
It's in the email.
Let me.
All right, but we can start talking a little bit about program review. First of all, I think it's a very, very important to thank, the Office of IE. They have been our strongest advocates during the last decade in ensuring that we maintain momentum on program review deliverables and that we meet all deadlines. We also have a number of representatives of dean's offices with us today, and we would not be able to really launch and finalize the process without their support, including, of course, Dr. McGoran, Dr. Segalis. We have Dr. Hansen with us, I think Dr. Sengupta. So this really is, a movement. It's a movement for quality improvement. It's a movement that it's based on developing consensus on strategies to best, improve student learning. It's a process whereby it's required by the BOG. We need to really launch program reviews at least once every 7 years. It's one that really hits to our core in terms of being a university. It's making sure that our best aspirations for our students are met through quality improvement. So let me go through the fact that we're looking during one given year, we have 3 different types of cohorts underway. We have just what we would consider, just for simplification, the past cohort, the present, and of course, a new cohort that we launch every spring. So in terms of the past, I'm particularly excited this year that a couple of months before the deadline of the BOG, which is normally around December 1st, we will be able to conclude the cohort up to 2019, 2020. We're pending actually documents only from 2 separate programs because they have recently been reviewed by their consultant and 1 more college. So I must thank all of you for allowing us to be in a special milestone this year. In terms of the present cohort, as you can see, over 20 disciplines involved. It's a cohort that's extensive, particularly in view of the fact that, as Dr. Sengupta knows, all his programs are on that list. And we've had the great opportunity to speak to him about the review and also to conduct at least 2 formal orientations with all the leads involved in these programs. And we have very exciting news, and I hope everybody is happy about this. We have put in a policy revision, which would allow any program that's under an active specialized degree accreditation to waive their external consultancy component of the program review. So we will keep you posted on that, but hopefully that would allow us to really focus on the other phases of the program review and also integrate the various, accreditation type initiatives. What can I tell you about this cohort? It's right here in front of you. We have, as of today, we have most of the consultants lined up. Dr. Sengupta's programs will fall under specialized accreditation. So we will not need to bring in external consultants to work with us during this year. But I believe with the exception of one or 2 of these programs, we're pretty much on board. I was pleased to learn that, September 27th, we're under a review of what has been submitted in terms of all the SLOs and POs, particularly because program reviews are anchored on again, these assessment initiatives. As we move forward, we hope to be able to launch next year, either virtually or in person. We'll see, what life has ahead for us. The next class of programs under review. You will be able to find the schedule most likely in the APA website, but we can also send you, just so you have this in advance, the programs that will be coming up next year. Normally, we have a number of extensive, cohorts, and then we have a little bit of a lull. So we'll need to go back and check the schedule to see if indeed next year brings us a bit of a lull, or whether we will be in an intensive type of outreach to make sure that we can deploy the program reviews on time. Do we have any questions about this? And let me add before I get off also, Dr. Debbie Hassan has been, instrumental throughout the last 3 to 5 years, I believe, in helping us, particularly with the case programs. All of our efforts, and particularly to provide that special nurturing touch to all the program leads under review. So if we don't have any comment, Kathy, do I turn it over to you right now? I don't believe we have any comments. Let me check quickly the chat.
Okay, we don't have any comments. Then we'll move on to the next piece.
Danilo.
Yeah.
I will stay a few more minutes and then I will need to leave. But I leave all of you in great hands.
Thank you, Mercedes.
So I'm going to turn it back to you, Danilo. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
So
Thank
that
you,
was
Susan.
CASA. So the next will be to VISTA.
Yes, please.
And I will stop sharing so you can take control.
Okay, great. So, yeah, just to wrap up with the CASA Dashboard, if you want to look at your program or specifically your courses or your programs or certificates, and you want to see what the trend has been across the different strategic priorities, any goals you've set since, in this case, since 2014, it would be good to use this dashboard to see where your goals have been over the last few years. And then also get a sense of whether or not they've been met. So the next dashboard is our view of improvement strategy trend analysis, the VISTA Dashboard. And so this shows the improvement categories assigned to the use of results for each outcome within every area, unit, and or UCC course. So anytime you submit your use of results, you usually have to assign it to a particular category, right? And so this dashboard is designed to show how many of your outcomes have been tied to one of these categories, in one of these improvement categories. So there's a couple different things to make note of here. It's going to allow you to explore your improvement categories for your area, and also acquire a comparison between your area and other areas. And so hopefully the purpose of this is to help inform and drive your improvement plans, and also assess recent trends across the department and different areas. So this first tab here, you can filter by the reporting area. In this case, if we go to core curriculum courses, because depending on the area you select, it's going to populate different categories. So the improvement categories for administration and programs are going to be different. So just something to make note of. So if I filter by core curriculum course, you see all the different improvement categories you can select from. And then you can also, this gives you like a global view across all UCC courses. So you can see that for 2014, there were 26 improvement plans that had to do with improvement of assessment that made up 4% of all improvement categories for that year. But then you can also drill down and you can look at it by course. So if we were to select, well, let's do history of architecture. You can also look at it by the specific area. And so you can see how many outcomes or how many improvement plans were assigned to each of these different categories. So history of architecture in 2014 had 71% of their improvement plans had to do with faculty-student interactions. And then you see that sort of dropped off the following year just by one, even though it took a dip in percentage, but that's because there were more outcomes that were focused on information dissemination and course activities, for instance. So that gets you some, provides some description, allows you to look at it at a more granular level. If you want to look at it and look at a comparison, we see here that the filter continues onto the next tab, this category comparison tab, where you can look at the unit that you selected. So history of architecture in this case. It retains all of the year by year improvement categories and the percentage that of the overall that each category made up across all the categories that were assigned. And then you can also compare that with all other units. So for instance, if you're looking at information dissemination, you see that 2014, 14% of the improvement plans were based on information dissemination. The following year is about 23% of those, and 10%. You can also compare with all the other UCC courses to see, so overall UCC courses maybe had 15% of improvement categories that had to do with information dissemination. And so you can get a sense of, how aligned are you with all the other core courses, not just overall, but you can also filter by the college as well, if you wanted to do the comparison on that level. And then if you scroll down, this just kind of aggregates all the different categories that were attributed to a particular report across all years. So for history of architecture, which we filtered out here, it will affect the visualization over here. And so we see that 43% of all improvement plans had to do with professional development. And so indeed, when you look at 2016 and 2018, many of the categories in history of architecture had to do with focusing on improving professional development within the course. So you get a sense also here in where the focus is for each of the courses. And then just, I guess the next one would be
The quantitative.
the quantitative dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I'm sorry?
I said, and that's our audit.
Right, yes, so this is the quantitative assessment audit. Previously, I know over the past few years, our office sent out an Excel spreadsheet that would indicate what parts of your assessment report may have been missing or
Yes, they're
incomplete.
coming in. I see all of
So,
our participants coming in. Thank you so much for joining us today.
yes.
Welcome to this webinar about developing your departmental repopulation plan. My name is Joliet Vega,
I think
and I am delighted to be with you back again for another informative session.
if everyone could just double check their mic.
Co-facilitating
make
with
sure
me
it's
today is Carlos Flores, our Assistant Vice President of Human
If
Resources.
everybody, I'm just going to mute everybody.
We'll be hearing
Okay.
from
Thank you. So,
I just muted you, Danilo.
all right, I'm unmuted now. It's okay. I know there's a lot of overlapping meetings and people are trying to be in multiple places at once. That's okay. But anyway, and this is being recorded, so you can always follow up if there are any questions. But so this is the assessment audit. So this should really be used to help track the submission of your data. So every year when or every few months when you get an email asking to submit your assessment results or your use of results or your follow-ups or evidence, you can look to here to track what pieces of your assessment report might be missing for any given year. So in this case, we have, it's going to be pre-filtered to show you the most current year, which is our 2019-2020 assessment year. And then you can also filter by area. You can also look at previous years. You can look at specific units. If you want to look at archived or active outcomes, you also have the ability to do that here. You can drill down by an area. If you don't want to look at a specific unit, you instead want to look at, maybe a certificate or a program areas only. You can also look by college or department, which is located in these filters. You can also look by modality if you want to drill down to dual enrollment online or face-to-face. And then you can also check to see whether or not data was submitted or not submitted for your area. So in this case, if I'm going to filter by, let's do case. So we'll look at College of Arts, Sciences, and Education, and it'll populate up here as well. You'll see the total number of reports that fall under this college, the percentage of results that have been submitted to date, and then the use of results, if applicable, the percentage that have been submitted. Now, just because they're submitted, it doesn't mean that you're finished with the process. And Susie will go into more detail with regard to the qualitative dashboard and the actual review process. But this just goes to show, this is like a receipt, right? Showing that you submitted your data and that you're ready for the next step. So here we see that there are 338 reports under College of Arts and Sciences and Education. 45% of the reports have the results submitted. We're still missing use of results for many of the areas, but again, this includes, this is mostly related to centers. And so you see that we're about a 23% completion rate as for this college for 2019. You can also look at, use the tooltips to give you an idea of what has been populated. So for example, for this first program, if you hover over the 0%, it'll ask for, these are the specific things that we're missing still. And it'll provide some dates of when it needs to be submitted by. So in this case, the results need to be submitted by October 15th, 2020. And then you also want to indicate if the criterion status was met. If your data was submitted, then you'll see that here as well populated in the tooltips. You'll see what exactly was entered. And then also if there's any additional items that are missing, that'll be indicated within the tooltip, as well as the dates that it will need to be submitted by. And so, yeah, you can scroll through any of these. You can filter down to the specific unit or department within the college as well. If for whatever reason you want to disseminate this to others within your area, you can also download the PDF. So if you look down here on the right-hand corner, download, you go to PDF. and we have some instructions on our website as well. But you'll want to select specific sheets from this dashboard. You'll want to select Track That Audit, and then you'll select Download. And then this will produce a summary of the audit, and based on the filters that you selected. And then you'll be able to share it. And another important thing I want to mention is that this updates every day, so you don't have to wait for our office to send it out to you. You can actually just go into trackthat.fiu.edu, go under report status, and you'll be able to look at this on your own and see what pieces are still missing or what areas do we need to submit data. So once the PDF is done downloading, you'll see that it provides a brief summary. We're looking at case, when it was last updated. So this was last updated this morning. And then we're currently at 23% completion between results and use of results, because that's what we're interested in getting for now, at least what's due immediately. And then you'll be able to see that we also include notes of where the users can go to submit their data, some important information related to due dates as well, and then also a link to the qualitative dashboard to track the report status in terms of what needs to be modified or edited, or if there's anything that we need some clarification on. But ideally, this will be able to provide you with an up-to-date status of where you are as an area in terms of your progress towards completing your assessment reports. And so you can also, if you want to include previous years, you can just filter that. If you want to look at any historical submissions, and usually, you'll be able to see as far back as 2015. And so the dashboard will show the 5 most recent years. So, and then again, if there are any instances, we're always making updates to this and always modifying it to make sure that it's, suitable and it meets your needs. So if you ever have any recommendations or suggestions for not only this dashboard, but for any of the dashboards that we release, to please share that feedback, and we can try to make adjustments. I know that people who have used the dashboard up to now have provided a lot of feedback, and that's really informed how the layout is. And so we definitely would appreciate that. But again, here you can look at previous years. You can see what data was submitted previously, if the evidence was uploaded, and so I think it helps expedite the process a little bit, and you don't have to wait from our office to really investigate what pieces are still needed. So with that being said, are there any questions up to now related to the audit? Has anyone used it, and has anyone found it to be useful for them?
Yes, we use it on a regular basis. Thank you. This has been very, very useful.
Oh, great. That's great to hear.
One thing I want to say is that for the units, just we try to discourage the use of, sometimes people put placeholders in TrackThat. So they'll put the data and it'll put like XX number of students scored XX. We try to discourage that because that'll show up as 100% on our dashboard. And so when we use this to say that the report is ready for review, when the reviewer reads the report, they see that data is not there. And then that kind of throws off the review process. So we try to discourage putting placeholder data into TrackThat before you're ready to enter the actual data.
And Marisa had her hand up.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry if I missed this. Who has access to the dashboards?
Everybody who has access to TrackThat.
Yes. So if you've been able to access TrackThat, you should be able to access the dashboard without any issues. But if any problems come up, then you could definitely reach out to us and we'll get it sorted out. And then if,
that process of getting in through the website when she does her part. Danilo, can we wrap it up? Because I know some people are concerned about going to the repopulation meeting.
Yeah, we need to
that's all. That's
prepare
all
for the next one.
To that.
Okay.
If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our team. There's, there's some notes at the bottom that provide more explanation of some of the data points. So, but feel free to reach out if there's any questions.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my screen and share over here. So you guys see this future directions page? I'm gonna make sure I share it. Okay.
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to touch on those, Danilo. These are just some of the next dashboards that we're going to develop.
Yes.
Go?
Yeah, so we're working on making some updates to the program outcome dashboard. So it's a little bit more clear of when you go to filter for your program, you're not filtering by the academic plan or subplan. You can instead just filter by your assessment report to make it a little bit more straightforward and clear. We're also working on a dashboard to aggregate the MAP scores, and then also word cloud analysis that will help us identify some themes and patterns that are within your program, within your outcomes and your objectives. And then also a chatbot that we're developing to provide support in case any questions come up, and just to serve as a resource to those of you who have any questions about the assessment process or about due dates, for instance. And so that's all forthcoming.
Okay. So next, thank you, Danilo. So next, I'm gonna go pretty fast. So if you have anything, just put it in the chat, and somebody will take care of you, or stop me. Just jump in and stop me. I don't mind. I'm gonna go over some of the resources that we have available. So this is our website. When you log into TrackDat, it isn't our website, but this is our TrackDat website. So this is our assessment hub website, which we're calling it. You get here by going simply to trackdat.fiu.edu. You have multiple different buttons. You can navigate to FAQ tutorials. That's our YouTube channel, a calendar of deadlines and events. We're going to start having more in this section when we start having our conference start back up our conference. And then we're also in the process of developing some additional workshops on certain topics. So if anybody would be interested in a specific workshop, you can reach out to us and we could try to get that on the calendar for you. We've got our contact us page. So these are help pages. The dashboards that Danilo just went over are over here in program course metrics and report status. The quantitative audit one, it would be in report status, and the CASA and the VISTA dashboards and our standard PO dashboard would be found in program course metrics. And to get into TrackDat, you know how to do that. Assessment portal, everybody's pretty familiar with that button, I think. So this is our qualitative dashboard. This is just a screenshot from that page. This is what it looks like, and this is how you'll see what status of per report that your report is in while we're doing the reading process and the feedback process. Let me go to our page so I can show you exactly what each of the statuses mean really fast. That will go here. You go to TrackDat, trackdat.fiu.edu, report status. You've got your step 1, check the quantitative review. Step 2, check the status of your qualitative review. You can filter however you would like to filter it. You can also search. So if you were searching for.
Susie seems to have been frozen. Maybe she's having connection problems.
I'm frozen.
So essentially.
Hello?
Oh, Susie, you froze for a moment. So we didn't hear part of what you said.
How? Oh my God, Comcast. Okay, so where did I leave off? Where did it cut off for me?
Just when you began in that page. So just from the beginning of this page.
So this would be the step 1, always check your status of your quantitative review. You don't always have to check it. If you know that your report is in review already and you've been communicating with us, you'll know it's here. This is a shared view from our tracking platform, Airtable. So this is how we track all of the reports. It's organized by college and by affiliation. So admin units are here, cases here, and it's also broken down by report type. So you could see the specific type of report and find it that way. So that's the way that it's broken down. And you can also search by using the little magnifying glass over here. So like I said, like I was saying, if you want to go look at biology or anything with biology, it'll highlight it here, and then you can see the name of the report, who's the assigned report writer, who's the reviewer. No one has reviewed this one yet or has been assigned to it yet. You can see the status, the due date. So the due date is the due date that we assign. So basically when we review the report, degree program, let's go to one. When we review the report, we review it, we do the red line, and then we assign a due date. So before we send it out, we send the email to the liaison and the report writer. We give a 2-week deadline of to return us back the feedback or to address the changes that we suggested, the suggested changes. So that due date will be here right now. A lot of them say 10/15 because we haven't gotten to them yet and we haven't assigned a deadline. So we just put the standard 10/15 deadline. Unless it's program review, then you'll see 9/27. You'll also be able to access the actual red line report. So this is what we actually email. This is an old one, probably from when we reviewed for SACS, but I'll just show you really fast. This one might not be. This one is right here. So you'll be able to download it. So you'll be able to see the attachments. And these are the various statuses ready for review, under review. So ready for review means you entered your data on the we checked on the quantitative dashboard. The data, it said that you were at 100%. We put it in ready for review status. It'll be assigned to a reviewer, and then the reviewer will pick it up. And when they're reading it and doing the process, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer to read each report, depending on how much information is in the report and how long it is. That's when we put it under review. So that means someone is currently reading and reviewing it and making comments. And then it goes into this status feedback sent. And that means that we sent the feedback with a due date. And then it goes into this pink status, revisions received. That means that the unit returned the report back to us. And now we have to recheck it to make sure that all of the points that Aileen was talking about on her slide that showed the clip of the red line review of the report, that all of those points were addressed and taken care of in TrackDat or taken care of on the main sheet, because we would make the changes to the outcomes and the methods, and then the unit is responsible for addressing all the feedback directly within TrackDat. So then we check and make sure that each point was addressed appropriately. And that puts it into, that's what it means when it's in pink status. So that means it was sent back and the reviewer is going to go back through it to review. So we're juggling a lot of different statuses here and reviewing and then doing a re-review. And then it goes into report finalized. So once we make all the changes and we can finalize the report, and that means that that's finalized for that review period. And then this process starts all over again the next year. So that's what each status means. You can also have further instructions by clicking over here on this link. So let me go back to, we also have our new contact form. So because we're in this weird situation where we're not having face-to-face meetings and we're not having our typical workshops, we developed a form so that you can request a meeting with us. A lot of us have it on our email signature, but you can also get this directly on TrackDat, which I'll show you how to navigate to that form and what it looks like and how to fill it out so that you can get on our calendars. So we have over here, contact us. Click here to schedule a meeting. That will take you to our form. And then you can just simply let us know who you are, what report you want to look at or what unit you're from, your email address. If anybody else needs to attend the meeting, the form instructs you to put any additional attendees with their email addresses so that we can send them the Zoom links. You select your reviewer. So who would you like to meet with on our team? And then a little bit of information about what you want to talk about. And then you'll press it. So like I'll show you, for example, if you pick my name, for example, and you click add, you can find an available date on my calendar. just request it and then press schedule it. And then that'll send me an email that says you have a new meeting request, and then I can go in, pop in, go into my Outlook, schedule a Zoom meeting really quick and send you the invite. So that's a quick way to get on our calendars, eliminating the back and forth. What time are you available? What time are you available? Things like that. So that is our new contact form. And then next would be, I already gave you the demo for the report status tracking. Oh no, yes, I already gave you the demo for this. This was also our Airtable, and that's how we track report statuses. And then Mercedes already gave her program review, and then I will close up with, we are here to help you. So we are your resource for everything assessment, anything you need, you know where to find us. Our website, assessment.fiu.edu, has templates for making new plans, rubric examples. Our video tutorials are on YouTube. You can just go straight to YouTube and type FIU institutional effectiveness, and our channel will come up. We're working on expanding our YouTube content to include more. You know, we're going to record our Zoom workshops that we have, and then put those on YouTube so that they're available, so that we have this information readily available for you when you have any questions, or if a new person comes on board. It's really easy to onboard them into the assessment process. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Susie. Before we go, are there any more questions? Okay, I take that as a no. Thank you very much for attending this. I know that last minute it was overlapped with another meeting that a lot of people had to go to for the repopulation. Best of luck for all of you. Stay safe, and I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank
you all.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Good luck with SACSCOC. I hope you get a glowing review come Thanksgiving.
We should.
For all this hard work that you've been doing and for all the help. And can I just say a point of pride for assessment real quick?
Yes.
Well, I know I've communicated with you earlier, but we got reaccredited from our Council on Education and Public Health.
Nice.
Which was in the spring, and I'm not sure how much I communicated with everyone, but so not only did we get reaccredited for the next 7 years, but we only got 2 minor dings for assessments, which I thought we'll get a whole lot of feedback. And I have to report to everyone that it's really, we only had 2 minor things, and this is only thanks to the institutional effectiveness team. Thanks to Kathy Perez, whom I have contacted, well, a year before accreditation report was due, to help me work out the assessments for our MPH program. We got 0 dings on those. And the certificate, I want to also encourage everyone to take that, or to obtain the certificate in assessment, because that was really also very helpful. We did way better on this assessment, on this accreditation, than we did on the one 7 years ago. Even though the criteria were new, they were more stringent, everything. So thank you, Kathy, thank you, Susie, and thank you, Eileen, for all your hard work on this. And whatever questions we have about changing our outcomes, we'll contact you later. But so thank you, guys.
Fantastic. Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you. It was mainly your hard work, and you reaching out to us all the time really helped us communicate and establish a good collaboration.
Sometimes I think I'm overdoing this, but you're always very supportive and available, and so I want to thank you for that. I haven't seen you during this whole COVID thing, so I feel like I miss you. I miss not being able to, see you face to face.
Yeah,
so
we
thank you.
Having lunch and everything. I keep on thinking, oh my goodness, when are we going to schedule that lunch together?
As soon as we're back on campus, we have to do something to celebrate, and I'm hoping we'll have good cause with the SACSCOC. I'm sure you guys did great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.